mentioned, my name is Stephen Valdinger. I'm a technical support engineer with Chocolatey software. And really the goal of this evening is to kind of show off what Chocolatey is and what it can do. Just by show of hands, I know I can't see the people in the chat online, but is everybody in the room familiar with Chocolatey? At least you know what it is, sort of, kind of?
Anybody who is not familiar with Chocolatey? All right.
So is anybody here familiar with Linux package management solutions like apt or yum, things like that? Chocolatey is that for Windows. So think about, you've got an application that you would like to deploy to your fleet of servers or all of your desktop computers, or just a mix of things in your environment. Chocolatey provides a command line utility that makes that easy to do. And it doesn't have to be just software. Yes, we are a package manager for Windows, but under the hood, it's just PowerShell. So knowing that, it can be a package of anything you want. It can be a script, it can be a module, it can be a zip file. You can place application desktop shortcuts on desktops, or move files around, or map network drives inside of a package, or whatever you can do with PowerShell can be wrapped up inside of a Chocolatey package and deployed. And it can use any configuration management tool as well. We're supported by Puppet, Chef, or any RMM tool that can run a PowerShell script can execute Chocolatey. So it's really powerful in that it's a central tool that you can use anywhere to be able to bring that package management experience that you might be familiar with under Linux into your Windows fleet. And it's really, really easy to get started. The installation of Chocolatey, if you're not using an internal repository yet, is a single line of code right here. You just execute install.ps1 script that you can download off of our website. And if you are curious, security conscious, we're extremely conscious about security. Everything that we do, we take that into consideration as well as user experience. So if you click on the link that's right under that install, this is the script that gets run when you install Chocolatey. So by all means, have a look at it, see what we're doing under the hood before you click that go button and install the software. We also have a lot of packages. There are over 6,500 community maintained packages available on the community repository. Chances are, if it's a piece of software that's freely available online, it's somebody's So, for example, we can look at VS Code. There's Visual Studio Code. I know Insider's Edition is on there as well because I'm the one that maintains it. So there's a ton of awesome packages available on here, and because it's built on PowerShell, any internal software that you use that's specific to your environment that might have a license tied to it or is a custom built in-house application, you can create a Chocolatey package for that as well.
So you're going to talk about how to build a Chocolatey package?
Yep.
Okay.
So inside of this, I've got a couple of VMs running here. I've got a server VM and I've got a client VM. When I brought these VMs up with Vagrant, it already had Chocolatey installed. So if we just run, actually, let me run this as administrator. So from an administrative shell, we're going to change directories to our packages folder. And I've already gone out and pre-downloaded a executable of 1Password. So we're just going to create a new Chocolatey package real quick for 1Password. So we'll do a simple choco new, and we'll name this 1Password. So what that's going to do is it's going to generate all of the scripts that can be added by default to a Chocolatey package. So if we look at that 1Password folder that got created, and if we open that in code, you'll see inside of here that we've got a tools folder and a new spec folder and a readme and a to-do file. By default, we are extremely verbose in our documentation in line within the generated scripts. Some people say we're a little bit too verbose. There's just way too much information in there. But we want to set you up to win right from the get-go. So by default, as you can see, we have our tools directory, which is where all the action takes place from within this tools directory. And we also can go out to the internet to download any binaries that we need. Now, this causes problems inside of an internal environment due to, copyright, redistribution laws, things like that. So we've got a complete walkthrough on how to set this up for an internal environment, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But if, you're just Joe Schmo out there in the wild, want to run the open source version of this at home, and you want to download binaries from the internet, you can use this URL variable to do that. And if you look here,
Hey, Steve,
we can also use file. Yeah.
some people ask me if you could increase that font
Oh,
size.
yeah. It's kind of hard to do in Vagrant, so let me do it. One more.
I think that should be good.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Get rid of this and this. Perfect. So, and we also have file types in here. They can be executables or MSIs or MSUs as far as a binary package is concerned. And then we've got your checksums, your silent arguments, and your valid execute codes for that application. Since I have already downloaded this 1Password binary, I'm going to go ahead and go to this package directory real quick and just grab that.
So you're saying effectively we just fill in the hash table?
Yep, you're just filling in the blanks is all you're doing. So let me go back and grab that. Cut that out of there. And what we're going to do is place this binary inside of the tools directory. And I'm going to leave that open because we're going to need it. So instead of a URL, we're not going to use the URLs. And we're not going to use the URLs here either. Instead, we're going to use this file type. And you'll see we have this file location variable. So I'm going to go up here. And I'm going to define that real quick. So file location is equal to toolster, and it's one word. Just grab that.
That's where it's wrong.
Yes, it is. Dash 7.2.617.exe. Make sure that's
Online password.
I'm going to wrap that. Right. So now we have our file that we're going to be installed defined. The next thing to do is just walk down through this thing and fix everything else that is kind of commented out or and needs setup. So we know that this is an exe, so we're going to call it an exe file type. Software name is currently not being used for anything. It's in there for a future feature in a later release. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is grab these checksums. So what we're going to do is go over here to PowerShell. We're going to open this tools folder just so I get this path right. Get file hash C. Password. That doesn't have any spaces, so that's good. Dot hash. I'm going to put that on my clipboard. And just to show you guys, because I did that kind of quick, I realized. And let me blow this PowerShell window up a little bit as well, because it's kind of small. It's huge, but that'll be all right. So basically, all I did was run get file hash, and I wrapped it in quotes so that I could. And let me just do this. I wrapped that in quotes and just grabbed the hash property value out of that, and then I put it on my clipboard. So it was on my clipboard, so I could easily paste it back into code. So I have that, and I believe. Yeah, I didn't download any other binaries. So the checksum is just going to be good enough. So I can get rid of this checksum 64 stuff. And I know for a fact that it is just a /s for the silent parameters on this guy. So I'm going to get rid of basically all of this line. Now it's going to behave itself. And the valid exit codes are fine. And then at the very end of it, we can get rid of all this other stuff. This is all extra documentation that we include for different ways of installing packages. So at the very end of all of that, all we do is we splat, as you mentioned earlier, all those parameters to the install chocolatey package command. So to clean this up, we'll just get rid of all these comments around here, just so it looks a little cleaner. All of a sudden,
You're gonna bracket, do the bracket on your hash.
yep. There we go. Looks better. And if you look at the very top of this file, we give you these 2 lines of code that actually remove all these. But it's kind of a pain, so in the essence of time, delete a little bit of this. So that's good. We've got our package defined. We're done. The next thing we need to do is create our new spec file. So Chocolatey packages are basically beefed up NuGet packages. So if you're familiar with .NET or Windows development and NuGet packages, that's basically what these are. At the end of the day, when you get done building your package, you get an uptake back, and that's what you deploy out and install. So inside of this new spec file, this would, there we go. This is all just metadata that relates to the package itself. And there's only a little bit of information in here that we need to fix up. So the version number of that was 72617. The title is 1Password install. That's fine. Authors of the software is going to be either if you know the developer specifically, the developer, or the company is good enough. So we'll call it 1Password. Same for the project URL. That would be the software company's URL or a direct link to the software itself. You can define icons, copyright, all that stuff if you want to. The only stuff that's not commented out right now is the stuff that's required by a NuGet package. So we've got some tags that you can tag things inside of your packaging. So we'll only use one. We'll give it a summary. Installs 1Password. I can type. We'll just do that. Description, same. Installs 1Password. And I want to mention this. We might do another package here later, once it gets a little easier to do packages. You can define dependencies. So if you've got an application that requires Java, or you've got an application that requires a certain version of .NET, you can take a dependency on that package, and it will install that first to satisfy the dependency, and then install the package that you're trying to target. So a little bit later, we'll be able to see that in action. But that's our new spec created, and in the essence of time, I'm just gonna.
Can I stop a question and say
absolutely.
with this here, we're building the package itself at that point, but you kind of mentioned a little bit that you publicly manage this package or maintain, but if it's something we're trying to do internally, Chocolatey has a mechanism to say, like, I can Choco install something internally that's not public, so I can rewrap,
Yep.
I want this
Absolutely.
version of
Yep.
this installer.
Yeah. So we'll get to that just a little bit later.
Okay. But even so the dependencies would be stuff that I would in my internal dependencies.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if I say Java.net, I don't want that.
Or they could be public. I mean, there's
a function to say I want the public version,
yeah.
or I want the private version.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll
Okay.
cover that in more ground in just a little bit.
Okay.
So I now have my new spec file created. They're good to go. So we'll go back over to PowerShell, and we'll escape out of this. We'll clear my screen, actually. So you can see I have the 1Password.newspec file. So now we'll just run Choco pack against that 1Password, that new spec file. And if I did everything right inside of my new spec and I didn't forget anything, I now have a new package available. And if I look at really should leave this open. I really should. If I go into this one password folder, there's my nutcag. That is a package that I am able to install now. This is a really good segue into repository servers. But first, I just want to show you that, yes, this in fact works. So, Choco install one password. We'll give it the Y command that suppresses all the do you really want to run the script box. It'll just do it. And we'll give it a source of, make sure I'm in the right place. Yes, this will work. So I'm going to reference the source as being the folder that I'm currently in because that's where the nutcag resides.
So the word 1Password is the name that you gave the package.
Yes. So the ID of the package in the new spec is what Chocolatey will use to install 1Password. And clearly, I was wrong about what the silent parameters are. But
no, but effectively it ran.
But it ran it, yeah. And we're going to do this a little bit later, a little easier. So we'll see it silently then. I'm not going to get rid of all that stuff. So now if I look at the Choco list command and I run the LO switch, which is short for local only, this retrieves all of the Chocolatey packages that are currently installed on my system. So you can see that I just installed 1Password at version 7.2.617.
Are they installed to the path or somewhere custom?
It depends. It depends on the package.
Okay.
Whatever the package did. So the package
whatever the package did. Remember when I said it doesn't matter if it's an installer, a script, a module, or whatever. If you drop a portable application inside of a Chocolatey package and use Chocolatey to deploy that portable application, you can then put the location that you drop that onto the path, and that's what Chocolatey would use. And we have this built-in refresh environment command that you can run post Choco install that looks at the path inside of the registry and just refreshes it in your current session so that those changes get picked up. Because otherwise, if you install a Chocolatey package and then you immediately afterwards, without refreshing your environment, try to run that executable from your path, it's going to say, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. So we have that command built in that enables you to refresh your path real quick.
And it only references packages that Chocolatey installed. So if you have Visual Studio 1.31 installed, it won't be on that list.
Yes and no. So
if you just installed it manually, downloaded.
So there's this command.
So there are some things that there's a.
Yeah. So there's this command called Choco Sync that is only available in the licensed edition. And what that does is it looks at programs and features, and it'll report all of the software that you've got installed on the system, and it tells you these are the packages, or these are the softwares that package management Chocolatey is aware of and is managing for you. Here's all the stuff I'm not. And there's a flag in sync that says bring all of the stuff under Chocolatey management. And what we attempt to do, and it works really, really well with MSI-based installers because of the MSI cache on the system, we generate a Chocolatey package for you and bring that software under Chocolatey management and pull that MSI out of the MSI cache and embed it in the packaging so that you've got a Chocolatey package that you can then upload to your own internal repository to deploy elsewhere. And that enables you, if you've got users that are, God forbid, still administrators of their machines, and you put an application on there and they're like, I don't know what this is, I don't want it, and they uninstall it. If you run Choco Sync, you can see that, hey, where'd this package go? It's gone. It used to be here. And it'll tell you that, hey, Chocolatey didn't uninstall this. Somebody else did it. So that's the sync feature, which is really, really, really handy. And there's also an audit flag available with sync that tells you the version that is currently installed, if there's a later version available on whatever repository you're pointing at, what that new version is, who installed it, and when. So that's really great from a security standpoint to figure out really quickly software in your environment, get a really good inventory really quickly with that. And that's something that you can run via a Puppet or Chef for Ansible job to go out to all your nodes and say, hey, run this. And if you're savvy enough to script that to send it somewhere else, there you go. You've just created a job to go out, talk to all your servers and say, hey, here's all the software that I have everywhere. Here's what version it is. Here's what's available. Here's who installed it, and here's when they did it. So if you've got several thousand machines in your fleet, that can be a really daunting task. Well, it doesn't have to be. It can be 3 or 4 lines of PowerShell and a Chef cookbook or Puppet job or whatever. So I've talked about a lot of features of Chocolatey. Everything I've talked about so far has been stuff that's outside of the sync feature. Everything that we've done so far has been available to everybody. It's in the open source edition. Everybody in this room and online can go out and do this right now. The next thing that we're going to do, and we're going to flip over to the server to do this. The first thing we're going to do is license with Chocolatey for Business license this client. It's really, really easy to do. It's a 2-step process.
So question in chat was a question about what's the use case of Chocolatey if you're using like SCCM or other package managers?
So,
like, what's that integration look like, or why would I use that?
SCCM is kind of a bear of an application. I mean, it's huge. It does so much. It's just pain to work with, really. And it's kind of slow in that you tell a client to do something, and that client, the agent that runs on the client, waits for SCCM to tell it what to do. And depending on your size of your environment, that could be 5 minutes. That could be tomorrow. So with Chocolatey and something like Puppet or Chef or whatever, that happens within minutes. And the same way, if you target in SCCM something to happen right now from the other side, it makes it a little bit easier in that it's just a single command wrapped up inside of a PowerShell task. I'm not really super well versed in SCCM, so I don't exactly know what it looks like off the top of my head. I'd have to build a box real quick and refresh my memory on the exact step to do it.
Okay.
But I know it's a PowerShell, like a PowerShell script job or something inside of SCCM that allows you to run Chocolatey. And it's just, again, not only do you get that ease of use with the packaging that you can use everywhere on no matter what, you also get that reporting and consistency outside of it as well.
Well, it could be defined in code too. SCCM you can't define in code. It's like you can't build it SCCM from the ground up in infrastructure. You can, but it sounds like Chocolatey is much easier to get.
Yes, without a doubt. And
Yeah.
some of the other benefit is use them together. So because Chocolatey already has this massive public software library of everything that I probably care to package in SCCM, instead of me taking on the impetus of making sure these packages stay up to date and can get deployed, I can deploy Choco install as my package, as my install line for that SCCM package, and then in SCCM, say it successfully installed or failed as though I was deploying the MSI. I just don't have to maintain the MSI anymore. right? So you can still use this with SCCM to deploy the application. So SCCM is the desired state engine, but then I don't have to deal with learning how to package something. I use somebody else's knowledge to deploy that application through SCCM.
But don't I need some chocolatey package distributed to all my endpoints?
Mm-hmm. But you could bake that into the image you're deploying or something else. Like, there's many ways to do
When
that.
we're in, I mean, this is also agentless too. You know,
Yeah.
need something quick on every single machine, I think.
How's it agentless? I mean, I see you running Choco. That's like,
That's it. It's a command line that gets installed to the
Yeah.
system. So as part of your image process, you go out and you call that download URL, or you host the Chocolatey package itself inside of your own internal repository, which we'll get to.
So it's an install on the machine,
Yeah.
but once it's installed, it's in the path of the machine.
Yeah.
And then it's just an executable on the machine.
Yeah.
So then you use that to
I'm
bootstrap
just
from
thinking
there.
it through. I mean, I would have to convince my enterprise to roll out Chocolatey to our clients if
Yeah.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's where I see it as just, you know, an understanding of changing some of the and then like you mentioned, as far as the package management is who, well, where's the packages, who is updating them and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so that's just the dynamic and pulling what's inside and what's outside. But I like the idea of if it's in a public repository, well, like you said, somebody's already done the work. So I can simply review the work that's been done and going, hey, that's a good package. I can then host it internally and say, those repositories are the only stuff that I approve. I can use the public repository, but I can steal from, you know, it's like everybody's, you know, we all steal each other's code.
Stevie, in the first script you showed us, there was a couple, like the top line that says, copy and paste the second and third lines.
Yeah.
I don't recall you having done that. What was the purpose of those?
All of those 2 lines do is get rid of all the code comments inside of that file.
Oh, got it.
It's just a cleanup. Yeah, that's all it is.
If the second question, if you had done the first part but had not done the second script, so the package, the new package had been created, when you went and issued the Choco install, would it say, hey, there's no new PKG file in it?
I have no idea what you're talking about, dude.
There was a question in the chat, is it possible that Chocolatey can be used as a portable app?
Is it portable? Can you just dump the files?
You can. Yeah. By default,
For
we
VDI infrastructure?
we
I mean,
hook
that's
some
probably-
stuff up to the path, obviously, and there's some other kind of quirky stuff that goes on in the registry and things like that. But to just run choco.exe, yeah, you probably could get away with it. The mileage may vary, but yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't work.
And Steve, one last question. You said if somebody by chance had local admin rights and did an uninstall of a particular package, I'm assuming you said you were doing that, did the uninstall without going through Chocolatey?
Mm-hmm.
So how would you be able to resolve? What would be the things that would show up, and where would they show up that something should be there but it wasn't there? Chocolatey, I'm assuming, keeps its own inventory.
Yeah, so if you're using something like Chef or Puppet or Ansible, there's corrective actions inside of Puppet or Chef. So the next time Chocolatey runs, when you're licensed under business, there's this thing called autosync that happens, which every time we run, we check and see what's there and what's fallen off or been added. So a corrective action can be taken based off of that says, hey, this is no longer there. I need this to be there. So in Puppet, it's like ensure true on whatever Chocolatey package it is. And then every time Puppet checks in or that agent runs and that checks that it's there, if it's not, it correctively puts it back. And if you're really aggressive, like if you've got a user that like you put something on a server and they keep uninstalling it and you can't for whatever reason take away their admin rights, that's would be what I would do. But for whatever reason you can't, you can get progressively more aggressive with that to where your corrective action is being like, okay, I just installed this 30 seconds ago and it's back already, what the heck? So with Puppet, you're able to rectify that stuff really quick. And with any other configuration manager, like Chef or Ansible, you would use a tool like that to ensure state, basically. DSE, whatever.
Does Chocolatey have resources, DSE resources? There's a question.
There is a DSE provider, yes. Yeah. So where were we? Licensing. So it's a two-step process. The first thing, you create a directory in the Chocolatey install path. There's an environment variable. That's one of the things that Chocolatey does when you install it outside of Portable. Creates this environment variable. By default, it's C program data Chocolatey. So you create a folder called license in that location. And as long as did I type something wrong? I'm pretty sure I did. Sure. Now, why did that not work?
Use the slash.
I'm just going to do it like this. Directory. It should figure it out. Yeah. All right. So we've created our license directory. I'm going to go up one. And the next thing we do is we copy item, chocolatey.license.xml, and we're going to copy that to environment.
What's the benefit of licensing? What are we changing?
A whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
If you pay for Chocolatey, your life gets a heck of a lot easier in doing a lot of things. So now if we run Choco just on its own again, we should get an error that says they can't load a license assembly, but that now you can see that we have the business edition installed. To get rid of that error, we'll install the extra stuff that comes with having a Chocolatey license. So that is in the form of Chocolatey extension, and I've got it here locally. In this path. So this should only take a couple of seconds to.
Do you license per machine, per user, per?
It's per node, wherever that gets installed, and we're really easy about our licensing. We don't phone home. It's like an honor system. If you buy 300 licenses from us or 10 licenses or whatever, put it on 10 machines. It's on the honor system. When a machine goes away, if it's a VM, okay, that's fine.
So
if you bring up another one, yeah, if you bring up another machine, that's fine. If at the end of the year or halfway through, you're like, we're getting really close, we need some more, that's fine. We'll prorate to whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to be a salesman here, but yeah, we're real easy with licensing.
You said it was engineer, not salesman.
Yes. So we've now licensed this version of Chocolatey, and we installed the extension. And if you paid attention and saw some stuff, you now see that we've got some context menus that have been added to our system. So remember when I went through all this process and how it took a little bit of time to generate this 1Password package? We're going to go out here and we're going to cut this out and delete this and paste that executable back in here. I just deleted it. That was smart of me. Hold on. Hopefully this, of course not. Bear with me while I put this back. Yay, it's back. So now we're going to right click on this, and we're going to say create chocolatey package without GUI. I hope. Did I forget to do something? I think I did. Yeah, I sure did. Launching is good. There we go. It's because UAC is turned on. So now we're going to use the GUI to do this. So on the new spec thing, you can go in here and you can fill out your new spec information if you want to. We're going to pass it the path of our 32-bit binary. If you've got a 32-bit and a 64, you can supply paths to both. We're going to this, and then we're going to play generate. There we go. So now if we look in here and refresh this, we get that one password folder. We get that tools directory. We get an icon. It pulled out the icon for us. It embedded the binary, and it created our install script as well. We'll just open with. So there it is. There's our chocolatey package, nice and quickly generated for us. That's part of getting a license, is that nice GUI. Or you can also, if UAC is blocking it and on this machine. But if you right click and say create chocolatey package without GUI, it'll just really quickly run through and generate a chocolatey package for the application, which makes it really easy to script that. You know, if you've got a file share somewhere that's full of all your installers, it's just a simple for each loop through all of those XEs, type it into Choco Pack, and it'll generate nutkegs.
So that's the first step, but you still have to do the second step, which is to make the package.
My package is right here. So this is all the raw stuff that got. This is what we used to generate the nutkeg. It put the nutkeg right beside.
Oh, there it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking for it within the directory.
Yeah. So it's a little different in that it doesn't shove the nutkeg beside the new spec like it did in the other example. We shove it beside the executable that we launched from. Makes it a little easier to find. So now that we have that, we could pop it up on a repository or something like that. Speaking of repositories, let's go ahead and do one of those. So this is my server box over here. So by default, when you get a licensed version of Chocolatey, you're still hooked up to the community feed, and in an environment, in a business environment that's really not so good. For distribution rights, copyright law, all that good stuff, but also reliability. You know, you're relying on us that the community repo is going to be available every time Choco install runs. Yeah, we've got pretty good uptime, but there is always that off chance that something is going to go wrong, and that our community repository is offline when you need it to be online. So by hosting your own repository internally, not only can you get around those redistribution rights with internalizing those packages from the community repository, but you also control the repository itself, so that the reliability of that is on you. So if you've got your repository hosted in like an HA environment, so if something goes wrong on a host, it can migrate to another host or whatever. You can ensure 100% reliability of your repository. And as long as your repository server supports NuGet feeds, our repository, it'll work with it. We have a product called Chocolatey Simple Server, which is just what it sounds like. It's a simple NuGet repository server. It does not like large packages, like over 500 megabytes, and it does not support more than one repository per Chocolatey Simple Server. It just doesn't. The other stuff that's out there that's available supports multiple different types of repository types, like NPM, Docker images, whatever. There's a ton of them that they support, but they can also host multiple repositories on the same server itself. So from the same box, you can have a test repository and a production repository, or a finance repository and a marketing repository and a sales repository, and whatever. The sky's the limit. Well, we do offer the simple server.
Can I take a quick, is Chocolatey also on, can it deploy Linux stuff? Does it work in Linux, or is it, it's roadmap, or?
It's Windows only. If you're really, really, really adventurous and have a really specific version of Mono, there have been people that have got it to work on Mac OS, but we absolutely do not support that. It does not work well in .NET Core outside of Windows. Obviously, PowerShell Core on Windows is going to work just fine. But yeah, it's Windows only for the moment. Would we like to see it go other places? Sure, absolutely. But if we put it on Linux, then we're competing with apps and Yum and things that have been around for however long those have been around forever. They're really, really good. And on the Mac, or Castle from Jamf, Monkey are like really solid products there. So yes, would we like to compete? Sure, but there's really nothing in that space on Windows, so that's where we're focusing right now. But who knows, maybe someday.
Another quick question.
Yeah.
So did I hear you correctly that you do support PSKoans?
Yeah, it will run
Windows.
on Windows, only because it'll fall back to some .NET stuff that's just on Windows. The APIs are there, so it'll work with it. But yeah, on Windows it'll work.
So quick question with repositories, is there any caching function where you can cache to a local repository to pull from the community feed?
No, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think there's one more question.
So okay. Another question?
Hey, I'm sorry, this is a dummy question.
Yeah.
Definitions of what goes on a specific machine or collection of machines comes from where?
Wherever you define it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, wherever you define it. You know, if you're running Chef or Puppet.
No, but I mean,
So that's where we were talking as far as the configuration management. So SCCM, kind of like what Jeremy was talking about with SCCM, is that you can define what softwares are here. Now you could use Chocolatey to actually deploy the work, you know, but then, you know, you could use DSC if you wanted to through some DSC method, if you're doing servers and stuff like that.
you have to have another something though.
Yeah.
But that's what I was getting at. There's,
This one is just a blanket, hey,
Okay.
install this, and you don't have to worry about how it gets installed. it just does it for you.
Yeah, you could even use group policy if you wanted to, and a login script or whatever, to deploy it out if you wanted to go that route.
So at the summit, there's a guy named Dan the Builder who's a pretty heavy user of Chocolatey, and he is an admin for a small environment in New Jersey, a university, that hosts people who do research. But they do their software deployments through a scheduled task on the machines, because that's basically a standard package that goes on every machine. They don't have a central repository. They just deploy scheduled tasks, and then part of that scheduled task is an email back to Dan to let him know success rates or if anything funky happened. But he is completely hands off. He doesn't do anything with software installs anymore now that he's moved to Chocolatey.
And you could get crazy with the cheese whiz, you know, like define a file that you're deploying through group policy, and then have a scheduled task where the script just reads everything in on the file and then ensures that these files exist on the box. If not, it'll, you know, execute the install for it, and you could have that run every 15 minutes. And so now you've built your old, you know, poor man's desired state off of a script and a scheduled task.
Save that code in source control, right? If you try to save all that into CCM, more documentation, it's not in source control. That's part of it. Very excited for them.
So I just wanted to say that, you know, we started late tonight, so that's really on us. But if somebody does need to leave, because we usually say the meetings run till 8, and you need a graceful way to step out, feel free to. But we're gonna let him run. And, you know, everybody seems to be enjoying it, so Stevie, keep going. We don't want a time limit, but if someone has to go, I understand.
So I'm just waiting for this repository server to be installed. One of the repository servers, so there's 3 big ones. There's ProGit and Artifactory and Nexus, and I'm not sure whatever that was. That's definitely not a repository server. But Nexus has an open source offering. It's totally free. And as such, there is a Chocolatey package for Nexus repository, of course. So what I've done is I've went ahead and I pre-downloaded that package, and it's installing right now, so that I can build this up, and we'll walk through building a repository server as well. And it's actually probably pretty close to ready. I'll just log in here.
This is a free.
So this is an open source version in Nexus.
Okay.
If you pay for Nexus, you basically get support and maybe a couple of extra repository types. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a repository. This is all the stuff that it supports. So out of the box, we've got Yum, we've got Ruby, we've got Raw, we've got Python, we've got NuGet, we've got NPM, Maven, Git large file system, Docker, containers, and Bower.
So this is a tool to centralize
Yes.
software internally in the
Yeah.
company.
So as we're built on NuGet, that's what our packages are. We're amped up NuGet packages. We're going to create a NuGet hosted repository. And to answer your question from earlier, we'll go back and just check this real quick. If we create a repository, if we look at this NuGet proxy, so what that does is it goes out and we can configure it to look at chocolatey.org/API/v2, the community repository feed. Every time that you Choco install something, it caches it onto the Nexus repository server, so that the next time something comes out and tries to install that same package, it doesn't go out to the internet anymore to download that package. It pulls it from the cache inside of Nexus. Now, depending on how often you install things or how strict your policies are, that cache might get stale pretty quick. So, and also if you're downloading a whole lot of packages, you're going to get rate limited. Well, we're going to cut you off. So proxy is not really what we recommend doing. We recommend what we call internalization, which is the very next thing we'll do after we install the repository. So we'll go ahead and quickly install just we'll just call it Choco, we'll call it talk. So we'll create this repository real quick. And then the one thing I am going to do that a lot of people forget to do when they do Nexus is go into the security tab, go into realms, and add the NuGet API key realm as one of the active security realms for this. The next thing we'll do, so my repository is created, it's done. I now have a repository called Chocolatey. Right now I'm just doing some housekeeping stuff. So I need to grab my API key for that. I'll put this in here. Copy. And now I need to tell Chocolatey that that is available, and I have no idea why my prompt is being really, really weird, but that's okay. So we need to tell it Choco API key is the command that we can use to, let me bump the size on this one too. Forgot I switched boxes. 18. So Choco API key is what you use to interact with the API keys that are tied to repository servers. You don't have to use an API key. You can authenticate with username and password as well. But if you are using an API key, this is a utility that you would use to do that. So we're going to specify our key, and we're going to tell it, well, what source does that key associate to? So we're going to use HTTP CCM server repository Choco-talk. So we now have our API key. I really don't know why this console is acting like that. That's super, super weird. And then if we look at Choco source list, so we're looking at our C packages directory, our local. That's just a local folder. We're looking at the license feed, which I've disabled, and we're looking at the community feed as well. So what we're going to do, we're just going to say Choco source. We're going to add one. Name is going to be Choco Talk, and the source is going to be that same URL from before. So again, we have all of that stuff available up there. I'm going to try and relaunch PowerShell and see if that clears that.
So adding that source was a client thing, right? So you would do that on every client that you're going to deploy
so now that I have that repository set up, I can come over here to my client system and run this as an administrator. Do a Choco source add name Choco talk source.
This would be a part of like bootstrapping the system to prepare it for receiving chocolatey packages.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So
So you're defining that for it.
Yeah, so I
It's
just
like registering a repository.
Yeah. So now if I look at Choco source on my client, here it is. It's talking to it now. So now if I go back over here and I go to CAC packages, so I I've got a bunch of stuff. This is gonna take a minute to do probably, so we can. Aliases for each item. Choco. Push. Full name. And I'm gonna push it to. It wants the full URL here.
So at this point, really what we're doing here, and while you're typing there, is that this is a licensed thing we can do, or you can do this from the free version. It's actually pushed to a.
Yeah, you can host a internal repository.
So, but this is available in the free version, or of Chocolatey. And so this is the method in which you can, hey, you've got a bunch of NuGet packages, and then here you could just even, hey, it's PowerShell, pipeline right into pushing into a repository.
But you run that every time you update your new package or new file.
Yeah, every time you generate a new package, you would do this. And I don't think I closed off that. Yep. Pretty sure I didn't do that. Sure did. I'm gonna do one of those too. Oh, I didn't use force. It's going to yell at you if you try and do this over non-HTTPS. It's not going to do it.
Double left? Double slash?
Uh-oh. Internal server. Why?
All right. But that's the method.
Yeah, I forgot to do so. But anyways, that's... I forgot to do something. But that's how you would upload a package to a package repository. I'm not going to go through it. I'm not going to show it just in essence of time. But if you scroll down here, if you don't want to give your users administrative rights and you hate Software Center and SCCM, we have Chocolatey GUI. There's an agent. This is the only thing that an agent will ever be used for in Chocolatey, aside from some reporting stuff. But the agent runs on the system and it creates a Chocolatey local admin account in the administrators group on the computer. And it, by default, it generates a 32-character password that I could not tell you what the password is. We generate it. It's hashed and salted by Chocolatey itself, and it's not stored on disk anywhere. So I have no idea. It's super, super secure. But you also have the ability to pass in your own username and password if you have like a GMSA or some kind of domain admin account or admin account in your domain that's delegated to install software that you want to use.
Can you brand?
You can do that.
Brand the GUI?
You can custom brand the GUI as well. That takes a special build that you have to ask us for.
There's a chat question.
Yeah, but yes, you can custom brand it. But with this, you're able to create a repository of only applications that you want your end users to install themselves. So when they go to an application and install it, the background service picks that up and says, "Oh, okay, you want to install this? I'll take care of that for you." So because it has admin rights, it's able to install that software. And by default, you're allowed to install and upgrade, and that's it. All the other Choco commands are blacklisted. If you want to give your users the ability to uninstall, you can. And there's some other, any of the other Chocolatey commands.
So when that runs, is it user specific, or is it if Jeremy runs it, he'll see his packages. If I run it, I see my packages.
It would be system specific.
So it's system wide.
Yeah, in that regard. Yeah, it allows them to install software. Unless you do something that tells the package to only install for that current user. You know how you can do some MSIs have the ability to say install for the current user only, and it shoves it in app data, or install for the whole system.
So I'm just thinking, hey, he's in a particular, he is in a particular AD group. That AD group can install this app. This person can't because he's not in that AD group. You can do that, or
I see what you're saying. Group specific like that. No.
it's like system-wide.
So yeah. So
Okay.
it can install, but you can configure it so that only members of that 80 group get a Chocolatey source that has the applications that you want them to install on it. And then you can control that with, say, group policy tied to that group to add that source.
So there's a way around it.
So yes, there is a way around it. I mean,
Cool.
it's just PowerShell. You can do whatever the heck you want. So yeah, there are ways around. So that is Chocolatey GUI. It takes a little bit of time to set up the agent and all of that good stuff. So I'm not going to go super long into that. And then another thing that we've got coming out, well, it's out in beta. But if we go to HTTP Central CCM server, and we look at right now, I've only got 2 machines checking into this thing. So this is Chocolatey Central Management. Right now, the server itself and the client that was running on this previously is checked in currently. So if we look at the CCM server itself, we can look and see that we have all of these packages installed. We can blow this out, say 50, so we can see a lot more of them. I don't currently have any packages that are outdated. If there were packages that were outdated based on what's available in the configured repository, says would bubble up to the top, and this is outdated, would turn red and say yes. And then you're able to generate different reports for outdated software, things like that. Obviously, everything currently in my environment is up to date, so there's no data available there. But this is a great tool for reporting on all of those different software applications. And again, this is the only other thing aside from self-service that agent is used for. The agent talks to the CCM server and reports that stuff from Choco AutoSync or Choco List gets dropped into here. We've got a future release that's coming out very, very soon. I'm not sure exactly when yet. It's still in development. But the next version of CCM is going to support deployments right from the central management console. So if you've got, say, a computer, if we go back to the CCM client, and we notice that Beartail is outdated, and we click on this, we look down through here, there will be an Actions button, and on that Actions button, you'll be able to say upgrade, and it'll deploy the latest version, or if there's another package you can.
Is that only the latest version you have on the server itself, or from the central
The version that you're seeing right here is the absolute latest bits available that we can send you. Yeah, we don't have any of the deployment stuff ready yet for people to see. So, and this is, if you are a Chocolatey for Business customer, you get this too. You don't have to pay anything extra for this. Your license for Chocolatey includes all of Chocolatey. It's too hard to like say, yeah, you can have this, but you can't have this. This is an extra fee. Blah 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 blah. That wastes everybody's time. It's not worth it. So we just here's how much it costs.
So do you guys?
Here's all this stuff.
So do you guys maintain your own? So let's say we wanted to have our own feed of Google Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to make sure it's updated all the time, but we don't trust the community source. We trust you guys to keep it. Is that something that you do? How do you manage your third-party apps on servers through this?
So let's just do C packages.
Like every month I'm gonna be rebuilding Reader and Chrome and Firefox and code.
Yeah, 'cause you don't wanna pull it from, I don't know, like, community is just community.
Fill up your license, you just be able to do the, go download them all and then have it do the build it for you thing and then be done with it. Probably, I'm guessing. So I would imagine that at least the apps.
So
they're gonna make
if
sure
you
that it
buy a
works.
license, you get the Choco download command. Oops, I shut that source off. Chocolatey.org. And not gonna work either. So the Choco download command takes a package from the community repository, downloads that package, pulls in the binaries, and rewrites the packaging to point to the local copy of the binary instead. So in the case of Google Chrome here, what we've done is replace the call to HTTPS download.googlechrome.com/version whatever. We've replaced that in the Chocolatey install file with join path tool or Google Chrome setup.msi.
Okay.
So if you look in the Chocolatey install.ps1 file now, you don't have that URL call anymore. You're looking at the binary that's now internalized to that package.
That's one of the benefits, is you
So,
pull from the source
yeah.
being.
So if we look at, where did I go? Talk. Google Chrome. There's my package. And if you look out on our website for our docs, if you look on the docs, the very left-hand side, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it says use package internalizer to create internal package source. If you scroll down, here's an architecture for you. Here's all the scripts you need to build out Jenkins to do this for you automatically, depending on what your package is. Like, we give you everything you need to get that up and running. So, yeah, package internalizer is what you would use you would make Jenkins download those versions whenever.
So you have an
on
automated,
whatever schedule, and then whatever, and then whatever packages you want from the community repository, you can just tell Jenkins to handle it for you.
Right.
And it internalizes and pushes them up.
And by internalizing, you're taking it not from the community feed, you're taking it from the product directly.
Well, you're talking to the community repository when you internalize. You're going out to Chocolatey and say, bring this to me and internalize it, repackage it. So all you're doing is taking you're basically rewriting the install.ps1 file inside of the package to no longer call out to any HTTP or FTP links that might be used by those packages on the community repository.
Okay.
And you're just burying the binary in the package itself.
Okay.
So, yeah. And similarly, we have this set up Chocolatey for internal organizational use. There's like 7 exercises here that walk you through install Chocolatey, add a license, set up a repository server, create a package for your license, create a package for Chocolatey, do all this stuff, and it just walks you right through getting Chocolatey up and running for your org. Yeah, and
So similarly to asking about the latest and greatest apps, if you don't want the latest and greatest, you want a certain version of Google
dash version. Choco install dash version. Put in the version number, it'll install that version instead. Awesome. Yeah. Inside of the new spec. Yep. And the last thing I wanted to show, we're getting a new website. This is the new website. This is what it looks like. So that docs that we just looked at, if you look under learn and go to docs, that whole big long thing you had to scroll through. It now collapses.
Yeah,
it's really easy to use. We're adding courses soon.
When's that going live?
Soon. It is almost done.
As soon as I can upload this video to it.
Yeah.
Very,
This will go upline in probably 24 hours or 48 hours. So, do we need to stop the recording?
very, very soon. So we're gonna do some fun stuff with like badges and things like that. As you complete a course, you earn a badge.
You have,
It's kind of gamified.
demo licenses for like 30 days, full functionality?
Absolutely. Yeah, if you reach out for a trial, we can do a trial. And if something comes up in, 30 days, comes and goes and you get busy, call us.
Sales will be happy to call you.
Not a big deal. But that is chocolatey in like a little over 60 minutes.
Can I ask you a couple of quick questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first question I have is, if you wanted to build a package for a piece of software that piece of software requires its own license, particularly if it's a license that is user-specific licenses and so on, are there facilities in Chocolatey to support that kind of distribution?
So chocolatey is literally just PowerShell.
Right.
So if you can use copy item, yeah. Or if you need to write the license to a registry fee, sure. Absolutely. I mean, you can use copy item, set item property to write to the registry.
But it's all going to depend on what that piece of software
it depends what defines that license. Is it something that's baked into the registry? Is it a file? What is it?
So you'd have to write the script to make that happen, but.
Yeah, you would just bake that right into the chocolatey install.ps1 file.
So the ones that license the MAC, they hash the MAC address, the phase of the moon, and your last name, y'all, that's.
So it is still dependent upon whether the application that you're using supports effectively a scripted install. So I've seen some applications and, I'm in some industry where it's actually, machine control software. And that software in there, you just can't do it. And they very blatantly say, we do not support a blind silent install of this application. You must now click next install, do this drop down, click next. So we just can't do that. So it has to be a manual install, even though we're installing hundreds of times. So if the software supports it, then yes, Chocolatey can definitely do it, because you're just running a script. But some software, you just can't do it because the vendor doesn't do that. But if you can find the silent installers, hey, do this, add this registry key, then like you said, it's just a script. Yeah. So copy, add registry, do that, copy in this file, or, copy out this file after the fact, let this install, do some things, send it up somewhere, front back, that kind of fun.
Yep. And I do want to mention too that, if you guys do have like this special snowflake softwares that don't have silent install parameters or whatever, we do offer repackaging as well. So if you want us to, we can take that application and repackage it into an MSI that we then generate a nupkeg from and send you both the MSI installer and the nupkeg. Drop in your environment. I mean, that's the only thing that has an added fee associated with it, and try not to be a sales guy about things, so I didn't want to mention it. But since that came up, I did want to mention it, yes.
My second question for you is, from watching you work, it looked like all of the options you put on there were dash and single letter and so on. Did y'all not follow the PowerShell, tab expansion and so on? I saw like dash forwards, which I don't think would ever work ESL.
There's a bunch of different.
I'm just wondering if I type in the calculate command, can I type dash and hit tab and it'll go through all the options?
Yeah. So if you run Choco and hit tab, it's gonna go through all of the different things that you can do. Now, if you do this, it's gonna do the same thing.
Right.
So yes, it does. What I do with, like, instead of saying source, we also support shorthand source, which is just faster for me to type.
Right.
So, and then sometimes, if it's force, I naturally type -F force. But I could have just as easily typed -F, but I didn't want to confuse anybody with well, did he just use the format operator way in the middle of my talk? So that one, when I'm talking about it, I kind of use dash force to be a little more explicit, just to alleviate any confusion, because PowerShell does have that dash F format operator. So I didn't want to cause confusion. So, is there anything else? I mean, I can literally talk about PowerShell and Chocolatey until like Friday. So.
Okay, Elaine, any other questions? All right, well, again, thank you very much. Couple pieces of business.